My mother didn't even lower her voice when she said it. The kitchen window was cracked open to let the November air in, and the cold slipped between us like something alive. She stood near the sink, peeling the label off a can of cranberry sauce, the way she always did when she was anxious. The evening light hit her face in angles, soft on one cheek, sharp on the other. My father leaned against the doorway, stirring his coffee with the same slow rhythm he used whenever he was ready to deliver a blow he'd been rehearsing. "Maybe," my mother said, still looking at the can, "you should go live in the streets if you're so independent." My father didn't flinch. He took a sip of coffee, swallowed, and murmured, "It might even teach you something." They both spoke like they were discussing the weather. They always did that, harm-wrapped in casual tone. A style they had perfected. A dry leaf scratched across the hardwood floor. The heater clicked on. Somewhere in the living room, the Thanksgiving parade hosts shouted into microphones, their cheerfulness slicing through the tension like a joke no one here found funny. In that moment, something quiet shifted inside me. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a clarity I didn't expect. My name is Claire Morgan. I'm 28 years old, and on a Thanksgiving afternoon, my parents told me to go live in the streets, not realizing I was quietly earning more money in a month than they had in several years. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts. It means more than you know. My mother finally looked up. Her eyes were glossy, not with emotion but with that defensive shine she wore whenever her pride was about to be challenged. "You can't freeload here forever," she said. I wasn't freeloading. I hadn't in years. They just never bothered to ask. My father placed his mug down with a soft click. "You're almost 30, he said. "People your age already have families. Houses. Real jobs." There it was again, real. They never called my work real. When I was younger, he used to stand beneath the porch light before coming inside from work, shoulders slumped, breathing heavily as if preparing for a battle he didn't want to fight. I learned early that the battles always belonged to me. I exhaled slowly. That, I'm not asking for anything. My father gave a humorless smile. "You existing here is asking." That one stung. Not because it was cruel, cruelty was familiar, but because of how easily it left his mouth. My phone buzzed on the table. A notification from a brand contract I'd signed 2 weeks earlier. Another from a licensing partner on the West Coast. Numbers that would have shocked them. Numbers that had shocked even me the first time. I kept my work quiet on purpose. Not out of secrecy but survival. Every time I tried to share something good, they turned it into a lecture about how dreams don't pay rent, or how prestige matters more than money. What they meant was, only the dreams they approved of counted. I stepped back from the counter. "Do you really want me to leave?" My mother wiped her hands on a towel. "If you're not contributing, yes." I was contributing, quietly covering groceries, paying old utility debts they didn't know I'd taken care of, slipping cash into drawers so they could pretend the world hadn't outpaced them. But saying that aloud felt pointless. They only believed what made them feel superior. A memory drifted in, the night my father lost his job when I was 15. He'd sat at the dining table with his tie still on, twisting it between his fingers like it carried answers. He'd looked at me then, not my brothers, and said, "Don't end up like me. Do better." I think he wanted me to succeed, just not more than him. The air in the kitchen smelled faintly of nutmeg and something burnt in the oven. My father's glasses fogged slightly from the steam of the kettle. Outside, the wind rustled the last brown leaves clinging to the maple tree. Everything around us moved, yet we stayed stuck. "I'll pack my things," I whispered. For the first time, both of them looked startled. Not regretful, just caught off guard. "You don't have to be dramatic," my mother snapped. But I wasn't being dramatic. I was done. I walked upstairs slowly, each step creaking under me like an old confession. My childhood bedroom still smelled faintly of old textbooks and the lavender spray my mother used the summer before senior year. I sat on the bed for a moment, letting the weight of everything settle. The radiator hissed. A car door shut somewhere down the street. Life continued, indifferent. As I folded clothes into a suitcase, my phone buzzed again. A message from my project manager. "Contract approved. Wire transfer scheduled. 7 figures. 3 weeks early." I stared at the screen. That money felt distant from this house, this room, this version of me. They had no idea who I had become because they never asked. My brother, Daniel, knocked lightly on the doorframe. He was the only one in our family who moved gently. What happened now? He asked softly. I told him. Not everything, just enough. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. They're scared, Claire. Not of you leaving, of you proving you never needed them. His words settled like dust in the beam of afternoon light. I knew he was right. Before he left, he said, if you need a place, call me. He always meant what he said. By the time I came downstairs with my suitcase, my parents were back to prepping the turkey, talking about oven temperature as if they hadn't just pushed their daughter out of the house. Good luck, my father said dryly, not looking up. My mother pretended not to notice me at all. The wind stung my cheeks as I stepped outside. The sky was a pale gray sheet, the kind that threatened snow but never delivered. The streets smelled like chimney smoke and cold asphalt. I didn't cry. Tears would have suggested loss. What I felt was release. I placed my suitcase in the trunk of my car, sat behind the wheel and let the quiet wrap around me. The engine purred softly, steady, patient, like it knew this moment had been years in the making. I sent one text. Just one. To my father. Okay. His phone chimed inside the house. I heard it through the window, faint and immediate. What I would do next, what I did do next, would unravel everything they believed about me. I didn't expect him to reply. Not quickly, at least. My parents had a habit of letting conversations rot in silence until the guilt fermented enough for them to weaponize. But his message came 12 minutes later. Short, clipped, delivered like the crack of a winter branch. If you're going to act childish, don't come back asking for help. Help. The word landed with an almost comedic weight, considering I had been silently covering bills they didn't know how to pay and debts they pretended didn't exist. I stared at the text until the letters blurred, not because I was hurt but because I suddenly remembered something. A drifting memory, the kind that doesn't walk in but seeps through the cracks. My father standing at the end of the driveway when I was 19, shoulders shaking for the first time I had ever seen. He had hidden his face behind his palms, muttering, I can't lose this house. I had promised him then, quietly, that I would find a way to help us stay afloat. He never asked how. He never asked again. He just assumed the world owed him balance for surviving long enough. The sun had dipped lower now, brushing the tops of the houses in a faint gold that made everything look softer than it felt. I drove to a small motel off the interstate, the kind of place with dim neon signs and asphalt that carried the faint smell of gasoline and old rain. My room was small, warm, and quiet. I sat at the edge of the bed, watching shadows stretch across the carpet as if they were trying to leave too. It was time. I pulled up my banking app, exhaled slowly, and did what I had promised myself I would do if they ever pushed me far enough. I withdrew every dollar I was supporting them with: utilities, mortgage top-offs, emergency fund injections, insurance gaps. All the invisible scaffolding I had built behind their collapsing pride. The screen refreshed. Lines disappeared. Balances reset. It was strangely calm, watching years of quiet labor pull away from them in a single decision. Then I sent the second text. You won't hear from me for a while. Take care. I didn't block him. I didn't threaten. I didn't explain. Silence was enough. Hours passed. The motel lights hummed softly. Someone in the next room laughed at a sitcom. I heard footsteps, then quiet again. The heater whirred like a tired old engine trying its best. Around midnight my phone vibrated. This time it wasn't my father. Her message was almost gentle. What exactly did you do? I didn't reply. Not because I wanted revenge, but because anything I said would be twisted, reshaped, and used as evidence of my attitude. The next morning I checked out of the motel and drove toward the city, where my life, my real life, waited like an unfurnished room ready to be filled. My office was a rented loft above a coffee shop, with exposed brick walls and the faint smell of roasted beans seeping through the vents. Felt like breathing again. My manager, Lila, waved at me from her desk, headphones around her neck. You're early, she said, eyes bright. Wire went through. Everything's official. I nodded, still holding the weight of yesterday inside me. That's good, I whispered. She glanced at me for a long moment. You okay? The question surprised me. Not because she asked, but because of how rarely anyone in my family had asked without an agenda. I felt something in my chest loosen. Yeah, I said. I think I will be. For the rest of the day I worked. Not distractedly, cleanly. Emails, contracts, planning sessions. Every task felt like a brick being laid in a house I should have built for myself years ago. Then Thanksgiving ended. And the calls began. At first it was my father. 4 missed calls in an hour. Then a text. Your mother is upset. You need to talk to her. Upset. The word tasted metallic. By Sunday my aunt called. My uncle. Even my cousin, who rarely spoke to anyone unless a family scandal was brewing. They all wanted to know what I had done. What I had done. As if choosing myself had been violence. 3 days later the real damage surfaced. Daniel called me in the early evening, his voice low, shaky. Claire, they're realizing everything you covered is gone. The mortgage is overdue again. The utilities bounced. Mom's panicking. I closed my eyes. The quiet inside me deepened, an ocean floor kind of stillness. They said, he continued, that your leaving was disrespectful. They're not connecting the dots. They never do, I whispered. That night I sat alone in my loft, lights dim, city sounds drifting in through the cracked window, distant sirens, a violinist playing on the street below, someone yelling good-naturedly about a parking spot. I wrapped my hands around a cup of tea. The warmth felt like a small, private mercy. My phone lit up again. This time she called. I didn't answer. But I listened to the voicemail, her voice trembling in a way I hadn't heard since childhood. We need to talk. Things are not good. Please call me back. Your father said something about money missing. I don't understand. Just call me. Please. There was not concern, not regret, but panic. Panic for consequences, not for me. A memory slipped in. My mother smoothing the edges of napkins at family dinners, pretending not to hear my father's criticisms of me. She always aligned objects as if order could substitute for love. By the 5th day a different kind of message arrived. A quiet one. From Daniel. They're finally asking where the money came from. I didn't tell them. That's yours to reveal, or not reveal. I stared at the text for a long time. Reveal, or not reveal. For once the choice was mine. On the 6th day I agreed to meet my parents in their living room. The house smelled the same. Old carpet, lemon cleaner, and a faint trace of burnt turkey lingering in the oven vents. My mother sat stiffly on the couch. My father stood by the window, hands in pockets, avoiding my eyes. What did you do? My mother whispered. I didn't let the hurt in. I didn't let the anger in either. I told the truth the way a doctor tells someone they've ignored symptoms too long. Gently, clinically, with no embellishment. I stopped paying for everything you never knew I paid for. My father's face changed. Subtly but unmistakably. His jaw tightened. His eyes lowered. A flicker of guilt surfaced, then drowned beneath pride. You should have told us, he muttered. You should have cared, I replied. The room went still. The kind of stillness where truths hover like dust in sunlight. Visible, undeniable. My mother finally broke. Not into tears but into realization. You helped us, and we told you to leave. I nodded once. No drama. Just fact. She reached for me, stopped halfway, unsure if she had the right. Claire, come home. I looked around the room, at the peeling paint, the tired sofa, the memories that lived in every uneven floorboard. Then I looked at the woman who had birthed me but never really seen me. I am home, I whispered. Just not here. And for the first time in years I felt the truth settle inside me without guilt. As I turned to leave, I offered them the softest words I had left. If you've lived anything like this, tell your story, and don't forget to subscribe.